Hi, this is Maria from Emu Gifts, once again partnering with Middle Country Public Library to bring you this easy and quick tutorial just in time for Halloween. Today we're making a DIY reversible superhero cape. Alright, so let's get all our supplies together and let's get ready to have a super fun time. Okay, so today's project is a reversible or two-sided superhero cape. So this is going to have a Velcro closing today, and we're using some felt, but you can use any type of fabric that you want. As you can see, it's two-sided or reversible, so you can do pretty much anything you'd like with it. You will need your pre-printed template. So with your instructions, you should have come across some pages that kind of look like this. They're just, drawn in rectangles and shapes that you are going to see. And they have letters on them. So these are actually just all going to be coming together and making one big pattern piece. So just to show you really quick, as you can see, there's different letters, and as you join them together, it's going to make one big pattern for us to follow. Okay, so we're going to put that aside for a moment. I'll show you everything that needs to be done with this. But for now, we are going to need the fabric. Okay, about 1 yard of fabric is okay. I'll show you exactly how we're going to cut this. But aside from this, we're going to need our regular sewing supplies, seam ripper, some clips, some straight pins, some tailor's chalk or regular chalk, and we're going to need some paper scissors, okay, along with our fabric scissors and or rotary cutter. It's very important to differentiate the two of them. You don't want to use your fabric scissors on paper. Also, we're going to need some Scotch tape, some glue stick, and a little piece of Velcro, about 1 inch or 2 inch, depending on your preference. And we're also going to be needing a sewing machine. Today I'm using my Janome Skyline S6. You do not need a super fancy machine for this. You can just use your regular basic machine that you have at home or anything else that you have available. We will only be using a straight stitch. Okay, so let's dive in a little bit deeper on our pattern here. Okay, so the one thing I want you guys to take away from this is that we have a few pieces of paper here. I believe it's 5 altogether, and we're going to need as much room as we can on our working space here on our table. So as you can see here, we have different outlines on each piece of paper. So each outline is actually going to correspond to different parts of the cape. So it's important to make sure that we are lining up the letters the way they're intended to. So for instance, right now we have A and B. So we're going to be looking for A and B on another piece of paper, and then we're going to match them up. Okay, so here's our A and B. So as you can see, there they are. They match up. Perfect. So the other thing that I want you to see is that there is a little bit of like a little edge or like a little extra space there at the top. We're just going to cut that right off, okay? And that's going to make us match these pieces even better. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and trim that panel along the black line that I showed you previously. And we're just going to go ahead and line up the letters one more time. And then we're just going to simply tape the 2 pages together. Okay. And this is the same process we're going to follow along with each piece of paper. Okay. And you can use as little tape or as much tape as you want. I try to just tape it together, one in the middle and like one in each edge. And it seems to do the trick just fine. So right here, we're going to line up C and D. Okay. And we're just going to trim that excess little, panel at the top, following that black line. And then we're just going to match up the letters once again and then tape the 2 pieces of paper. Okay, wonderful. So now we're getting to the bottom part of our template, and we're going to follow the same instructions as we did before. We're just going to cut up that, top piece and line everything up, tape everything. The only difference is that when you get to the very, very last page, you're going to see that it's only like a little round shape or rounded shape that there is to it. And that's basically the corner of the cape. This particular cape that we're making has a rounded edge at the bottom. So this is just going to help us keep our rounded edges symmetrical. Okay. So as you can see, we're still matching up the letters as we did before, only this time we're matching them vertically as opposed to horizontally. Pretty simple, right? Okay, so we are just going to go ahead and tape it together, and we'll move on to our next step. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and take our paper scissors, and we're going to go ahead and cut all the way around, following that blue line as our guideline. Okay, so we're just going to cut all the way around. Don't mind if you cut through any letters or anything like that, just as long as you're following the blue line. Okay. Wonderful. So now we've cut the outline of our cape, and all we have to do is kind of just see that everything is still taped together the way we want it to. I'm just going to add a little bit of tape to some of the corners and the edges just to reinforce it a little bit. You do not have to do this if you don't want to, but it's completely up to you. And it's something I'm doing just because it makes me feel accomplished. Okay, so now we're going to put our paper scissors away or to the side, and once again, this is the full view of our template. This is what we're going to use to cut the shape out of our cape. Okay, and we are going to move on to our fabric portion of the project, and we are going to cut the first panel. Okay, so here I unfolded my fabric completely from the way that it came in when I purchased it. So it's completely unfolded, and I'm just going to go ahead and take the edge piece and fold it over to approximately where I want it to, so it fits the pattern. Okay, so as you can see here, I folded it over, and now I'm getting ready to just cut that piece of fabric. So it's the only one I'm using, and I don't have any extra bulky fabric on the side that'll, get in my way. Okay, all right, perfect. So now I have my fabric that I folded up in the step before, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up my template or my pattern to go ahead on the fold. So where you see that it says fold, that's because it's meant for that edge to be laying right on top of the fold of the fabric. Okay, so this is basically just creating one big piece of panel for the cape. It's just folded in half. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and pin all around. Feel free to use any type of pins that you're, comfortable using, and feel free to pin in whichever way you feel comfortable pinning. I particularly like to pin horizontally as opposed to vertically, but just feel free to do what you're comfortable with. Just make sure that as you are pinning, you're straightening out your pattern and you're making sure that there's no bubbles or any bulging, happening in there. Okay. Perfect. Okay, wonderful. So now that you've been, pinning and you're done, you can go ahead and cut the fabric. So we're going to go ahead and cut it along the outline of the pattern. And we're going to be using our fabric scissors for this, or you can use your rotary cutter as well, whatever you feel most comfortable with. Okay, once you get to this little neck piece, just make sure that you cut through all of it. We just want to make sure that you have two individual neck pieces that will allow to put on the Velcro to connect. Okay, so this is our beautiful panel, okay, that we've just cut out, and now you can go ahead and take out your pins, and I'll show you what this looks like. Okay, so now you can open up your fabric, and this is your one panel of superhero cape. So this is what it looks like. As you can see, you have the round edges and you have the two separate neck pieces that will allow you to put the Velcro on. Okay, so just fold it up and put it aside, and we're going to go ahead and work on our second piece of superhero cape, otherwise known as our second panel. Okay, so as you can see here, I'm already, getting ready to cut here. So once again, I folded over the edge of the fabric. I folded it over just enough so my pattern fits there ever so perfectly without wasting too much fabric on the side. Okay, so as you can see there, I'm just going to be putting my fabric aside once I cut out the excess, and just get ready for pinning. Another quick note that I wanted to make was I previously mentioned that you can use this pattern with pretty much any type of fabric. And I wanted to let you know too that you can actually customize this pattern to make the cape a little bit longer or shorter depending on what your needs are. You would just have to print out either, extra, copies of the cape to make it longer, or just, take away any pieces of paper to make it shorter. I've actually used this particular pattern to make my own kids superhero capes for Batman and Superman, and I use some vinyl, so it works with pretty much anything. But anyway, back to the project. I went ahead and I put my pattern, as we did before, with the edge to the fold, and we're just going to be pinning in place all the way around. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and cut our fabric. All right, so bear with me. I've gone ahead and sped up this video just for a little bit of saving us some time, but of course feel free to take your time and take your time pinning just so you don't hurt yourself. Wonderful. So we're all pinned in place, and now we're just going to go ahead and use our fabric scissors to cut around the template just like we did before, staying close to the edge of the paper but not going through the paper, using our fabric scissors. Wonderful. So now we've cut everything, and now I'm taking all my pins out so I can put the template away and focus on the sewing part. All right, so here's my second panel. Okay. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that each panel, since it's hand cut, it's not going to be perfectly identically the same as the other. So for this step, definitely match your panels as best as possible. However, if you do see that there's some edges that are just not matching up, it's okay. This project is going to be turned right side out or inside out. So you're not going to see any of the raw edges or anything that didn't match up. You're just going to see a beautiful project at the end, I promise. So for this portion, just match everything up as best as possible, smooth out your fabric. And once you've done that, you can go ahead and pin all around so your fabric doesn't shift as you sew, okay? Wonderful. So now you've pinned all around. And the next step is actually to go ahead and create a little marker for yourself so you can go ahead and stick your hand in there afterwards and turn your project right side out. So as you can see, I'm using my chalk here and I'm creating, you know, the little pocket or the little space where I'm going to stick my hand in. So depending on the size of your hand, you just want to use your hand as a guide to kind of draw those little chalk markings. Okay, so once again, the purpose of this gap is for you to be able to stick your hand in there and turn your project right side out once you've sewn through. Okay, so we're going to start at one of the lines that we created, and we're just going to go ahead and straight stitch about a 1/4 seam inch allowance. However, you know, it doesn't have to be a 1/4 inch. You can definitely just eyeball it a little bit, because since you know, both panels are not perfectly the same size or identical to each other, you might see that you know, you have an excess of fabric for one side and not the other. So just as long as you get both fabrics, that's great. So like you can see here, I just you know, I was able to sew through both, but one's a little bit longer than the other. So, and that's perfectly okay. As I mentioned, you're not going to be able to see that. It's just going to be tucked in all on the inside. Okay. Okay, and then just another tip, you know, as you're going through and sewing, feel free to rearrange your fabric, stop and, you know, raise your presser foot as many times as you need. You know, this is going to prevent any bunching or any, you know, type of mistake that you could have avoided. And of course, it's easier to do it that way. Take your time, rearrange your fabric, and just, you know, go with it. Okay, now that we are at our marker that we put in with the chalk, you can stop right there and just start unpinning. Make sure you take all of your pins out. You don't want to accidentally prick your finger or your hand when you're turning the project over. Okay. So right at this point, what I'm doing is just checking for any gaps or anything that might look a little bit funky. This is good to do before we turn the project inside out, as we don't want to, you know, turn it inside out again. So as you can see, I discovered a little hole or a little gap in my corner. So I'm just going to go over it. I'm not going to do it from the very beginning. I'm just going to, you know, go ahead like an inch before and an inch after, and just make sure that both of my fabrics are sewn together in that little part. Otherwise, I think I'm good to go. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and stick our hand through our gap that we left there. And just a quick note, I am super speeding through this video at this point, just because of time purposes. And I did take my time trying to turn the project over. It didn't take a whole lot of time, maybe about 10 minutes. But I do want to let you know that once you get to the neck pieces up at the top, those are a little bit more tricky than the rest of the cape, for obvious reasons, since it's a little bit tight up there. So I'm using the back of a pen to help me out. You can use, the back of a pencil, the back of, pretty much anything. Just please, please, please do not use anything sharp, because you can hurt yourself and you can, rip through the fabric quite easily if you use something sharp. But yeah, just take your time. Take as many breaks as you need. I know that sometimes these repetitive, tiny minor, movements with your hands can be a little bit crampy. So yeah, just take your time, take as many breaks as you want, put on some music, and just enjoy, crafting and sewing. So this is what it's all about, right? So just once again, don't rush through it. Just take your time. I'm only speeding the video for time purposes, so you don't have to watch 10 minutes of me trying to work my fabric. Okay. So just hang tight, take your time, and we'll see you at the next step. Okay, so we are done turning over our project. Make sure you take your pen out or any utensil that you used. And this is what it's gonna look like. So that is the top, or like the collar part of the neck, where we're going to attach the Velcro. But before we do, we're actually going to add some embellishment to this. At this point, you can definitely just seal the gap with fabric glue if you'd like. However, for purposes of this video and my project in particular, I'm gonna sew it all the way around. And it just adds a nice finishing touch. It makes it look really nice. So that's what we're gonna do. And we're just going to tuck the raw edges of that gap into the project, and then we're going to secure it with either a pin or a binder clip, whatever you want to use at that particular moment. We're just going to straighten out everything, smooth out our fabric, and then go from there. Okay. So once again, just tucked in the raw edges of that gap into the inside of the project. And now I'm just kind of, smoothing everything out and making sure everything's ready. And now I'm going to go ahead and sew all around. Now, you can choose to do a 1/4 inch seam allowance, or you can just choose to edge stitch, which is just stitching closer to the edge. Okay. But that's pretty much it. Just have fun with it, and we're almost done. Perfect. So now we've sewn through, and as you can see, it just adds a little, nice finishing touch to your cape. And now we're just getting ready to go ahead and add our Velcro. So for this portion, I am using just regular Velcro, and I'm going to use my glue stick to just kind of place the Velcro in there. That way I don't have to use any pins to hold it in place. But what I am going to do is I am going to sew the Velcro into the cape. Okay, so you do have definitely different types of options for the closure. You can use sew-in Velcro like I am, or you can go ahead and use the Velcro that has glue on it already for fabric. So that works pretty well, or you can just use a button closure. So it's completely up to you, but today I am going to use just regular sew-in Velcro, and I'm just going to sew all around the edges of my Velcro to secure it in place. Wonderful, and that's pretty much it. Just make sure to trim any threads that you might see there. But this is, your finished project. Thank you so much for hanging in there with me. I know it's a little bit of a longer project for something so simple, but thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Don't forget to visit Middle Country Public Library, their social media, their webpage to find other projects like this one, and just have fun crafting. Thank you so much for being with me here today, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Thank you. Bye-bye.